be an artist. Like I have I know some people they just like drawing, and they can also be an artist. It's not really important to claim that you are an artist. Just you can be artist anyway.
Do you need water?
Oh no, I don't need water, and I only have chance to drink during the interview.
Alex Melism was drinking.
He is calm.
He's calm?
Yeah.
You're not calm? Amira?
No, I'm a different type of person compared with him. Yeah.
I'm free flowing a lot of it, James.
That's good.
But I just don't know if. I mean, I'll try to incorporate some of your questions, but
That's good.
I just.
Okay.
Hi, and welcome back to Colony Kids SOS. For those of you who hadn't tuned in before, this is a interview series where we speak to creative community in Hong Kong or change makers about their craft, what they do creatively, how it relates and if it relates to the city. And I guess it's really created. It came out of a time of crisis. During lockdown, we couldn't do a lot of programs, and we went digital. And actually, this is a series that is meant to live on and be archived so that people really get a sense of the voice of people doing things in Hong Kong right now as an archive of the times and the spirit of the time. Tonight we have a very special guest, and every guest has been very special, but today is particularly close to our hearts. Normally this person is somebody who sits behind the camera. He does all the interviews in Cantonese, and for anybody who's ever worked with us at Eaton, you will have you have interacted and probably have very fond memories and experiences working with this person. So tonight's guest is our very own Phoenix.
Hello.
Yay! And while James is sitting behind the camera, because we're always, for those of you who know us, we're always a team of three. So if I'm sitting here, then the other person is sitting in front of the camera, and then James doesn't sit behind the camera, but he's very much present, and he will chime in, and he's definitely written a lot of the questions. And tonight we're interviewing Phoenix because Phoenix he's already left us. His last day was on Friday, and not for any reasons because he wants to leave us, but I think but because he has chosen to go back to school. And so first of all, why don't you introduce yourselves like everybody else does?
Yeah. Hello. I'm Phoenix. Maybe most of the people who know me maybe as an as art administrator, some of them may know that I still make some artwork and claim that I make artwork sometimes. Actually, I just finished one artwork, but this is more like a small project for a floating project. They have a project called Manifesto, and I just submit the video, which is the late submitter, as I heard, because they chased me for a long time, and I just submitted the last week, and with the writing. It's just about we can talk about this artwork later. Uh, I for people who don't know me, don't know my artist practice, I can talk about. I used to work with different kinds of medium like video art, like installation. also do some writing and performance in the past. I have some actual experience about performs on a stage as a performer as well. But I don't really want to do perform anymore. I just feel it's just really tired and I lost energy about it. So maybe we can talk about the other things as well because I don't just want to talk about what my artistic practice in the introduction. Yeah.
I just want to let everybody know that in the 2 years I worked with Phoenix, I've never seen a work of his apart from the documentation from his performance when he was in London, because it happened to be in a book. So he's been very, I don't want to say if it's secretive, but mysterious, because he's the Dark Phoenix. But I do want to ask then, what works have you been working on? You said you just submitted something, so I do want to hear about. When are we going to? When is the exhibition?
Uh, I don't think they will have an exhibition, but this is more like a publication or online screening project. Uh, this is a video about some footage about train. I use train as a metaphor to talk about how how train and cinema, the moving image itself, to relate to our the human being. Like through the train, or the cinema, we are discovering we are in a time. Yeah, like we how we living in a time. Through the time is keep changing and the other stuff because change I think is more it's kind of like a sadness symbol in the cinema history. The first film in the film history forever is the when the train encounter to the train station. So the train is one of the best elements to talk about how time has been moved because this is the capture of how people capturing the time at the first time. So when the train get in, that means people have encountered someone. They will meet someone who take out from the train. This is about encounter. So there's a British film called Brief Encounter. This is about someone meet and they leave the others.
Why do you think the train is such a powerful way of capturing time and fleetingness?
Because when we on a train, we are supposed to go to somewhere, and we cannot control ourselves. We can only sit there. You may nowadays you may take an iPad. In the past, people may take a book for read. But you are supposed to be on that the position. You can only stay in the position to see the view from the window. And you can only see the view keep losing through the window. You cannot capture anything through the losing view. And you may know the end point where the train go to, but as like you know your density, but you cannot control after that, or we cannot control how we get to there because we are on that train. We just putting our life and our density on that.
And with your film, why is it that you chose to, or you trying to say, you're using this trope that I guess is, you're saying it starts with the beginning of film as a metaphor. How do you use this for the message or whatever you're trying to create?
Sometimes it's just more like I quite keen on the poetic feelings about change these elements, and I have something I want to say, and I think it is something I can use as a metaphor. Sometimes it may not be clear because for me art is not something really clear, and sometimes I just put something I don't know, and maybe more like a short work about something on it. And I'm not sure. I just feel like I like this fragment, and I think this fragment can reflect me for something. I cannot really answer why, but I think I'm searching about why as well in this process.
And how does it relate to the word manifesto?
Or I know the manifesto is more like a manifesto for different artists to talk about how video and how video to capture like as an artist statement. Yeah, so I think this is kind of like a statement for me as well. Want to restart and we look about myself, how to use art to find out who I am, who we are. Yeah.
You used the word restart. Did you either stop, or you were you continuing and now you are intentionally now restarting?
Yeah, because there's a few reasons. I don't really want to show some of my previous artworks, but some people have already seen it. It's because I think I feel like sometimes it's more like I thought I liked. I thought I like this topic. I thought I like this medium, but actually I'm not really. I just want to make some seems like an artwork, but actually maybe it is not. I want to more follow myself, not just follow the others.
There was a period of time when you said you didn't want to watch films anymore.
Yeah, I still don't really want to watch films, but there's some films I still want to watch, but just haven't have the mood or energy to watch it. I feel like the previous reason for me is because I don't want to stay in the cinema, or because for me I cannot stay in my stay in my room to watch a cinema, a film on computer, even a projector. So I have to go to the cinema to watch film. But in Hong Kong, you may just go to like some program like CineFan or film festival to watch a film with some quality, with not there's not many choice. I still bought some good film from Criteria collection through ordering from Amazon, but I just don't have the energy to open a DVD or Blu-ray and put it into the player for playing this on television. I still will watch some footage from the films I like. I find that it's more like I am chasing some illusion from the past. Watching those footages reminding me some of the memory I lost and I want to remember.
Do you want to talk about one scene that you have been rewatching?
Currently, I didn't really watch the footage as well. But I may talk about the film by Robert Bresson. I really like. There's a footage on Vimeo or on YouTube. This is about the hands footage from Bresson films. There's a video maker collects all those hands together and remake those footage together as a video, a short video with some bath music. I sometimes I just like watching those hands together. Yeah, because it's is more about the origins of the image.
So these are Bresson films, and there's somebody, like, is he a well-known artist, or that cut it all together?
No, I think it's more like
or just like a video.
a Vimeo is not a well-known artist.
How did you come across it?
Just the Vimeo, that's random video popped up on my search result in one day, and and then I just like it. Sometimes you just like the texture and the feelings. This is not about some logic things. Yeah.
What do you mean about the origin, and how do you think this is connected to the origin?
For me, when he talk about the frame, cinema, the image as a frame, it is not about the important things. Is not about we seen. It is not about unseen, because for me, cinema is more like you have to get back to the real life, to the reality. Cinema is just a illusion or just maybe an imagination. No matter is how realistic it is also not a realistic, even like a documentary. So when we go to visit the cinema or watch a film, it is about reminding ourselves we are living and we have to link back to our life. And after we finish the film, after we go out from the cinema, we have to get back to the real life. When how we spend these 2 hours not just for entertaining. Maybe sometimes I would say just entertainment is okay. You can just watch some bad film as a junk food for relaxing, but it's because it's for relaxing. It's about we will get back to the real life, and it's become some energy for us. So a good film or an image is about reminding ourselves what we are supposed going to do, and or reminding ourselves should we think about we should do next, because there's a lot of famous photographer who shoot about the tragedy in the war, or some like the refugees like from Mexico to America, they died in the river. People will put those image on the magazine to reminding people, but there's a research about actually this never changed the reality, because people will only get the attention for like 30 minutes, and some people may fundraise or may give some money to the charity, but there's always not enough people to helping the real situation, to help how to change the refugees problem or the others problem. So image just an encanting point. So it's just the real matter is how we keep doing it, how we live.
And so the last time you studied was what, 4 years ago?
I graduated from 2016. Yes, yeah.
Your practice, you said back then was kind of different, and you're kind of restarting and really rethinking what it means to create art, what it means to be an artist. And so what does it mean for you to be going back to school now, and what does that mean? Yeah, what does it mean for you to go back to school now? But also, if it's relevant, how does that tie into your new thinking of, even if you see an artwork or documentation or film in front of you, you actually have to go back to real life? How are these things connected, do you think?
I wouldn't say the artwork I made like 4 years ago or 5 years ago is totally not my things. I still feel like it is me. It is something I really interested by, just as an interest, not having some power for evolve something. I have some difficult moment or some difficult experience even in recent. I think I'm not sure how I evolve them, but I think I have a responsibility to reflect myself as an artist, how to connect myself to the world, to the maybe it is too big topic for I cannot, but for me, everyone who are living in this moment, we are linking the past and the future together. So I'm not sure how to do it, but I compare with 4 years ago or 5 years ago. I feel like I have more mission for myself or more responsibility. I realize that, yeah. So I think when I get back to school, I have more like a chance to face my own practice. I can really spend time to rethink myself and keep doing it, because you never know the final product until you finish it. You never know how will the work be until you finish it. You never know how it will be finished until you finish it. Maybe even you finish it, it is incomplete as well. I don't think there's a perfect things. Even like the greatest novel or the greatest art piece forever, there's something incomplete and imperfect elements inside.
I'm gonna take a question from James. Two questions. I mean, I can follow one with the other, but what is the role of tragedy and love in art?
The role, I think like tragedy, maybe like a lot of philosophers has already talked about these things, but for me is tragedy and love, because in the art piece, the video piece I made about the train, I also talk about maybe we are kind of fall in love with tragedy sometimes, but when tragedy happen in reality, it's not always the good thing. It's just totally not a good thing. But we still have to accept it, because tragedy is everywhere. I don't want to talk about tragedy, because for me, I want to talk about Chekhov, the Russian playwright, the writer. He kind of have a great influence for me. I used to not really understand why people talk about his play as a tragic comedy. I never understand how comedy and tragedy combine together, and how should I laugh, because I totally cannot laugh when I watch his play, like See Guy. I cannot. I can only see this work as a tragedy, but not comedy. But after a while, I more or less understand that why we have to combine tragedy and comedy together. Because you cannot like depress or stay in a bad mood all the time. The tragedy only happen in the specific moment, like in Shakespeare, the tragedy only happen in the at the ending or during the play, like Hamlet. It's just more like a short period, but people still have to go on. If you are not died yet, so you must have some moment you can feel happy. So this is more like between how we balance happy and sadness together. So I'll say love and tragedy is more like a complex thing. This is not about we are talking about love, or we are talking about tragedy. It's also happen comedy, tragedy, love. It's mixed together all the time. Maybe life is a tragedy, but it can also be comedy. So you never know. I don't know how to say that, but last week Lee Kid also found me for something. He said he make a painting about when people feeling sad, when they feel happy. It's more like that. This is more like people feel when people feel happy, they also feeling sad, because maybe we cannot accept our guilty, or maybe it's just another complex level of the emotion. So I wouldn't say there's a only way to get happiness, or we have to stay in sadness, but just also we have to accept our own sadness and happiness together. Yeah.
The other question from James is, what is true emptiness?
The true emptiness. Sometimes I would say I'm kind of emptiness at this moment, but I'm not. Everyone have their own beliefs. I would say beliefs. The true emptiness is about people who don't have the feelings and don't have their life. They are following this following something. Maybe people give the illusion for them. Like you have to be a good banker. You have to be a good worker in a company, and they satisfied with that situation, and they feel like, oh, being a good worker is something good, and make me feel comfortable. For me, that's just emptiness, because this is not about they just obey or following something. It's okay for you just obey or following your parents, or your family expectation, because you cannot. In some people, they cannot against it, because they live in a poor family. They have to take their responsibility to maintain their family, like their children or their parents. But I feel that with people feel pressure, with people feel this is not I want. Actually, I have something I want to do, but this is my responsibility. This is not about emptiness as well. The emptiness is about people fall in illusion. They think, oh, getting a good job, have a good car, get a good wife, and I feel satisfied. That's just emptiness for me. Yeah, because they don't really find themselves.
So is not emptiness? What is alternative of not emptiness?
The not we can say that it is about people who understand their limitation and sadness. They find that this is also about tragedy. When people realize that we cannot change our density, we cannot against the society, we cannot against the reality. It's also about the tragedy, about people find that, oh, we are not emptiness because we are against something. It is more like when Camus talk about the guy making the rock get back to the mountain. Yeah, this is also the similar idea. If people only have like happiness and they just want to spend all their happiness on the capitalism stuff, like car, like house, that's just emptiness.
So I know that you were learning, you were DJing at one point as Noro, and you were James was your mentor. What was it like for you to DJ? I mean, I never knew you had such eclectic taste in music, and actually, I mean, I really enjoyed your sets. So yeah, do you want to talk a little bit about music?
Maybe not, because for me, music is I like music, but
you said you might go to London and become a DJ, right?
Oh, that's more like a joke, or if there's some people who don't know the music, I can do some part-time for those student party. It's more like about part-time job. Yeah, so I respect the DJs, like those DJ has come, or those good DJ, but I for me it's more like, oh, I have chance to know something about it and start it as a hobbies, but I can only talk about anything about music or DJ. Yeah.
What would you like to talk about? I know that normally you're the one behind asking the questions. What do you have a question that you would like to throw out?
For me, sometimes if I asking question for myself, it's more like a self critics for me, but I don't know, the self-critic for yourself is not speaking through the works. It's in the mind. your mind is keep thinking. You will ask yourself, why should I do that? Should I do that? What should I do next? But when it speaks as a work, it's a bit different. It's because when you're asking yourself or self-critics, it's just kind of messy. I cannot organize it as a question to ask myself. Yeah.
I would like to ask, as an artist, what is the in your own practice and also for maybe new artists out there, what is the imitation of artists that you might admire and be inspired by? Where does that end, and where does your own voice come in with your own practice? Because I know you're inspired by certain artists such as Godard and Chris Baker and many others. So when you're making something, are you actively thinking about this looks cool because this looks like such and such? And is that a point where you feel like you should distance yourself from that idea, or
Yeah, both also happened. I would say, because this is more like from the beginning. I'm talking about I don't want to be like a follower of something. I can talk about the artists I admired and I inspired. There's a lot of artists from novels, from literature, from art, from cinema, or from the other things. I sometimes I would say the style I will learn from them, because like the composition of a photography or from video, you have to learn from the good artists or great artists, because they have the good taste and aesthetic. That is the how they are good at the technique. But I also have to balance that I'm not a copycat. I have to find out some unique perspective for myself. But actually, there's just not many unique things, or there's not many because like Boris Groys, he talk about most of the art just follows from the others. Like only field art like Duchamp, because that's is totally something totally different. That's is totally not an art at all from the beginning. It just became an art after he made it. So only that could be like a totally different things, the new things. He's talking about the new. So most of us are following the old things. We are creating the new things in small way, but not a total a new way. It's okay. That's why I talk about one of the responsibility as an artist or as everyone is connecting the past and the future.
What do you want to talk more about the responsibility of the artist connecting the past and the future? Why is that the responsibility of an artist?
Because for me, it is more like why history and humanities happened. If we are not necessary to connect the past and the creating future, we are just spending all the energy for entertainment is okay. Yeah, connecting the past is mean human, maybe as a family or as a mentor. It's just about we are communicate with someone we admire, we love, we like through a different way. People died, but their spirit is not died yet. That's why human can sustain until can develop the culture or civilization until now. We have to sometimes we have to against or we are not obey the traditional, but this is also a communication about connecting the past. If we want to have a future, so we must understand the past and we are responding it. That's why we have to connecting the past and the future to make more people still alive.
In your 2 years at Eaton, how do you think that you've changed Eaton?
I wouldn't say I changed Eaton, but maybe in a small way. Some project is supposed not to be like that, and maybe sometimes it's more like the artists themselves or our partner, they dominate the main idea for the whole time. But I may have some suggestion or some realistic recommendations, like you cannot do this because we cannot do this in our situation. It's trying something, yeah.
There's no lighting that's possible in this area.
I wouldn't say we are changing something, but our exist really did change something.
What do you think it changed?
I wouldn't say it's a something we specific change, but it happened. It looks like right now because we make it. It's changed about maybe there's an alternative world without me, and maybe another one. He or she is working in a position. He may change Eaton as well in some way. So that's maybe the difference. So I would say I am where I am. There's some the thing is happened right now, yeah. So it's not about change. It's just about we make it together. So I don't want to use the word as change. Yeah. Change is about the future tense. It's not about the past tense. So change is about our ideal. We want how we change the problem as a better solution. We found that there's a problem. We have to get a better solution. That is about change. This is not about talking about the past, how we change something to change something, because it is from something to something. Yeah, change is about the ideal and what we expect in the future.
I mean, I was told by somebody I think who's watching right now that you write extremely well in Chinese and Cantonese. I mean, I don't know have a direct question, but in some ways, text was a really big part of what you did with translation, but also some statements that were floating around that were really important to the brand. You know, were translated by you. What do you think the role was of language at Eaton and what we were doing?
I wouldn't say my translation is good. It's made okay sometimes. But I'm not a professional translator. Sometimes I just put maybe the cultural stuff like the arts program is easier, but sometimes like the IG post, I also not really feel comfortable to translate it at all as well. But I would say,
but like, I mean, the things that, you know, statements that we put out or that we shouldn't say publicly, but also like even the name of this show, Colony Kids SOS, you know, I think there's a very particular style that you added to it, which I think, you know, yeah, it was very poetic or very relevant.
yeah, it's more. I just think it, and lots of people knows it. So it's not about translating. It's just about how we appropriating the elements into it. So this title is not about translating. It's just about appropriation. It is also an art form. Yeah.
So you can talk more about that, appropriation as an art form.
Yeah, like the some of the work I make like as a video essay is more like how we appropriate different things together to create something new. just like I talk about, there's nothing new. There's not many things new in, like, maybe only 1 to 2 things new in 100 years, but not every years we can have the new things. So a population is more like we are searching, we are how we understand all things, and how we interpret it for responding the actual moment.
Can you remind us what the Cantonese title of Colony Kids SOS is?
一班被選中嘅細路。
And what is the context around this?
The context around this is originally is from a anime called an animation from Japan called Digimon, and it's become popular in Hong Kong due to the 2014 because the student association from the umbrella movement, they mentioned about it, but I don't really think actually every generation they can use this text as well. It's just more like about how you respond yourself in that generation, in that period of the society, of the city, of the world. Yeah, so everyone can adapt this term, this slogan as well. So
what is the exact meaning of this? I mean, if you were to translate it back to English, what is the meaning of this title?
We are the chosen generation for responding all these situation at this moment, like the in this important period. But actually I don't think there's a period not important. So this is more about how people think about their life. So that's we can talk about the emptiness. Back to the emptiness. Why sometimes the 70s people or 60s people, they feel like, oh, we have guilty for the young generation because of when the economy situation in Hong Kong growth, they are staying in emptiness. They don't really try to understand the past and the future. They don't have the sense of about how the city, they don't have. It's just more why sometimes people talk about the 90s and the people who born from 2000s, they have, but the first generation in Hong Kong will talk about these things maybe the 80s. So it doesn't really matter. So it's just about the people how to respond the past. When people find that, oh, our roots is here, so they will try to find out the answer and creating the future for what they want to be. It's also in art history or film history also have the similar situation, like in Hong Kong art history, when those 80s generation artists like Oscar Ho, they are doing the out of context. They are also finding a unique style from how to be a Hong Kong art from the traditional Sanshui painting. Yeah, is from film history, like John Godachi talk about, oh, our French new wave is about we are the first generation who realize film history. The others people who make film, they don't know the film history. They just do something they want. That's why when we realize our history, we can create more future.
I think this brings me to questions that we normally ask. I mean, first is, does Hong Kong play a role in the art or who you are as an artist and a creator?
Me? I'm nobody in for Hong Kong art.
But does it influence the way that you work or the process or your work? Or?
Yeah, of course. I think no matter you deny that, I just make art, I just stay in the room, Hong Kong doesn't matter. It also is a matter because you don't care. Also, it's about something has already reflected on yourself. Like people, I know some people a lot of artists in Hong Kong, they of course they realize what's the problem in this city right now. But there is also some artists they don't care. But for me, both of them also relate to the city. There is no one ever can create something without any context. Even like you deny that you claim that I only make music in my room. I don't care anything outside. I just draw the painting. I just paint. I just draw. But I think it's more or less something will change your life. When your life change, your art will also change.
How would you define this generation?
First, as I said, this is not about generation at all. Sometimes 60s people can have more a avant-garde mindset compared with some 70s people or even like 90s people. Because I also heard about some people who are same age with me. They will talk about, those young students, they are so poor or they are so young. But actually, I feel like you are not that old as well. You are so young. You can also do the same things. But this is more about when your mind being old, you will be old. When your mind is staying more energetic, you looking forward for the future. You always feel that you can learn something, adapt the new things. You are the young generation. It's just not about the age. Of course, physically you have some change, but you can also understand how to improve it. Somebody I still saw some elderly. They can run. They can run on the mountain. The body is better than a lot of teenagers, better than a lot of young adults. So it's just about how you keep your mind be young, how you improve yourself. So back to the generation, I think it's hard for me to define myself into a specific generation. I wouldn't identify myself as a 90s because it doesn't matter. 90s or 80s is made no difference, or 90s and people who born in after 2000s also can no difference. Or some people will think, oh, there's a huge difference. Maybe they have some cultural gap, but sometimes it may have some effect on your communication with different people. But at the end, I feel if you talk about the generation in the history or in the society, it's just about how you react, how you respond. It's just not about I belongs to which generation. For me, all the people who living in this moment, they face experience the same things. They are the same generation. This is not about the age.
So what is this generation?
I don't think there's a generation. There's only people who want to go to the only. I can only define people in two groups in a simple way. People want to stay at the same, and people who want to change.
Very good answer. I have one last question after, but any questions from the floor? Jan and James?
I think I covered most.
Okay. Do you want to tell us about your name, Phoenix? I know that you at one point adopted this name, and then do you plan on keeping this name? Will you evolve?
No, I think I will keep it because most of the people know me nowadays, Phoenix. So, and it's when I use this name, it's just more like a mistake or as a random nickname. But I like with Phoenix a very long time ago, and I used to use it as my internet name on those forums. So when I have to write the CV, oh, I found that the others normally they have the English name, so I just feel like should I put a random English name on it? So I maybe like Phoenix, River Phoenix, and just use it. And after all, I found that it's kind of I can interpret this name in many ways, so it's okay. Just use it. Yeah.
I think it suits you really well.
It's inspired by River Phoenix.
Yeah, it's inspired by River Phoenix.
Yeah, but I can also like refer to some the other characters I like the Japanese anime Sing Saye. There's a main character also with about Phoenix. He is one of the guy who also stay alone, but he will appear when the situation being worse. So he also Phoenix is about people who keeps staying alive. Yeah.
I got a question.
After what he just said, you have a question? That was such a great ending, James. That's why I asked the floor for questions before. But okay, no, of course, ask your question.
Okay, you consider yourself otaku, but you're actually pretty social. So, what is your definition of otaku?
First of all, I'm not really that kind of social guy. Sometimes I can communicate with different people, but I'm not that social guy who just come into party and say, "Oh, what's up?" Or "Hey, what are you doing, man?" I'm not that kind of social guy. For me, that's a social. I'm more like stay at the corner during the party, so I can call myself as a social guy. Just sometimes I can talk with different people. Like, I don't mind people from different classes, from what their background, because I just like to talk to different people, but I'm not that social at all. Otaku is more like people who obsess on some topics, and they keep spending their energy and effort on like researching on some specific things. Otaku is not about just staying in their room for not talking without communicating with the others. They even like the Japanese otaku who follow the anime, follow the manga. They also really good at communication with specific topic. They can communicate with the others on the internet, on the forum. So it is not otaku is not only about people who cannot social. This is about how you evolve your interest into another level.
Will you miss us?
Yes.
Any final questions?
Would you consider yourself a nihilist?
No.
No.
That was would you consider yourself a nihilist?
Nihilist, sorry.
It's okay. I'm just repeating it so people hear it, not correcting you. And the answer was no.
Mm.
And then I think we're done. Thanks so much for tuning in. If there are people tuning in, I know that we're way past our hour. That was a really great conversation. Thank you for that, Phoenix. I will miss you immensely.
Mm.
We will all miss you immensely.
Miss you.
But whenever we need you, you will show up, is what you said. That's what Phoenix means. So the
yeah.
PRs,
Yes.
or just requests, are all sitting. I'm kidding. No, I'm kidding.
The ideal will come to us
We
when
love you very much. One day we'll see a foot of your sister. Okay, I think it's a wrap. Thank you for everybody who tuned in. Yay!